I believe that all democracies should have mandatory voting. I believe this for many reasons. Starting with, I believe that required voting is it's truly accurate representation of what every citizen thinks. So we can see that the majority really does want this, and the majority what does win in their votes. It can allow decisions to be made that represent exactly what the majority wants and the people want. It also can help cure any speculation on whether there's rigged elections or that somehow people are swaying votes because every single citizen will get their say in the vote, and that can make it more fair. I also believe that a democracy cannot be fully effective if there's large groups of people that are not exercising their right to vote and their civic obligation to vote. So when there's big gaps in the voting population, then that's not a true democracy working to its fullest potential to allow the majority really to win. I also think that it would be beneficial to make voting mandatory because politicians are obligated then to not only speak to upper class and middle class people with money and status and things like that, they are also required to speak to lower class citizens and people in poverty and worry about everyone because typically, like for an example, America, lower class citizens and impoverished people are less likely to participate in elections. So, making voting mandatory requires that these politicians and these presidential candidates they speak to everyone and they address everyone's needs and they become more inclusive, and then the voting process becomes more inclusive and allows everybody to be spoken to and taken into a consideration by the candidates or people being voted for. It can also inspire citizens to pay attention to what's happening in government and in what's happening in their countries, in their nations, and how their governments are working. It can inspire more patriotism. It can inspire more nationalist views because if people are forced to know about what they are voting on, then they will be more inspired maybe to learn about more about their country, support their country more because obviously the decisions that they vote for are very big and significant decisions, and this can make them be more patriotic and want to learn more about the country. I believe that it is very important that people know what's going on in their nation. And in America, for example, we have a lot of people who are very uninformed about what happens in our government and foreign affairs and just everyday things that do apply to them. And these things all affect us in ways that we don't even realize. And I think it could be very, very beneficial if mandatory voting made people have to become aware and learn more in order for them to become maybe more patriotic and more proud of where they're from and take more interest in the place that they're voting for and the things that they have to research and find out about in order to vote educated vote.